So, Kelly, we want to wish our listeners a
Happy Thanksgiving!
We decided to take this week off because we have family in town. But there's no reason why you can't join us for Thanksgiving at our Thanksgiving table here. So what are you guys having for Thanksgiving?
I'm doing the traditional turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes.
And cranberry sauce out of the can that still has the ridges on it from the can.
It's the best kind.
Absolutely. Kelly, what are some things you're thankful for?
Oh gosh, I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for everything that's going on with the podcast. I'm thankful for you specifically. Aww.
I feel the same about being thankful for, we still both have our dads here.
Yes.
We have family to be thankful for. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for our puppies. And of course, we are thankful for you, our listeners. And we're also thankful for ghosts, because that's what gives us
stuff to talk about.
And we're going to talk about faceless ghosts on this bonus episode. This is something that we shared over with our Patreon, our executive producers. So this is a sneak peek into what you might be missing if you're not over there supporting us. Of course, we are very, very thankful for those of you who do support the show. And some of you have been doing it for 6, 7, even 8 years. So thank you for that.
Yes, we appreciate that so much.
We hope you all enjoy watching your football today and eating all the good grub. And we'll be back with a brand new episode next week. Happy Thanksgiving from Diane
and Kelly. We love you guys.
Thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
History Goes Bump Bonus Cast. Hello, you spooktacular executive producers. Welcome to History Goes Bump Bonus Cast, number 190. There is probably nothing more terrifying than a ghost without a face. In Japan, anything that is paranormal or supernatural is called yokai. One of these yokai is Noppera-Bo, which is a faceless ghost. Another name for these apparitions is gesichtslosgeist. Paranormal investigators aren't exactly sure why there is such a thing as faceless ghosts, but they're believed to be unaware of their own identity. Some people believe that this is a ghost that's lost all form of recollection. They don't remember who they were, what their life was like. Whatever their memories in their living life were did not carry over beyond the veil. And we're not sure if that's because that's the rules for some people or if it's a form of punishment or something. But imagine this. I mean, it's bad enough that you're forced to wander around the earth and maybe you're even trapped in a location. But imagine not even knowing who you are or what you had done, possibly to deserve to be without a face and wandering around. There are those who think that faceless ghosts can borrow the looks of living people and meld their otherwise featureless face into the likeness of others. And in a lot of the mythology about these types of ghosts, you'll find that that's the case. They're not like doppelgangers, though, who borrow the looks of many people, whoever they can get close to. The other thing that makes these creatures different from a doppelganger, say they take on your features, is that they don't have your personality. So when people see them, they might think it's you, but that whatever it is doesn't act like you. And so that's kind of how people know that that's not really you. Kind of like the pod people. You're not acting like you should be. While a doppelganger basically creates an exact replica. It will act like you. It will answer like you. It will walk like you, talk like you. Everything is exactly the same. So they can fool people around them, your family and your friends. There are those who believe that faceless ghosts, or that word I said earlier that I'm sure I said wrong, gesichtslosgeist, which literally means faceless plus ghost, are entities or spirits that don't actually have an identity. Maybe they weren't anyone at one time. Some people who research this type of thing believe that it's possible that these faceless spirits may be someone who succeeded in selling their soul, and the buyer only wanted the certain essence that makes a spirit what it is, like the memory, the personality, ego, basically what I call your conscience or your soul. I mean, if you've sold your soul, that's what you've sold, right? Your conscience, that part of you that we can't see, but it's not the spirit. It's who makes you who you are. So if you're selling your soul, isn't that really what you're selling? So then this leaves behind some kind of a husk, whatever's left over of you without that soul. So imagine your spirit without the soul. Very, very sad. Another theory about them is that this is someone who was unable to get past some kind of shocking life event or tragedy, and that death somehow has forced all memory and recollection from themselves. So it's not like they're being punished so they can't remember. It's almost as if they don't want to remember, or it's actually a blessing that they can't remember. And perhaps that's why we see some of these ghosts that are locked into a location who can't leave, is because they don't remember what happened to them or what they need to do to resolve the situation. Thankfully, most of them are not faceless. I personally have never seen a ghost, so I definitely have never seen a faceless ghost. I don't think I'd ever want to see one of those. Sometimes a faceless ghost is not seen but felt by a spirit or medium, and they find it impossible to read this spirit or communicate with them in any way because they're just drawing a complete blank. There's no name, no age, no gender. It's like they know there's something here, but it's just a shadow, or what I would like to say, a shade of something. This complete total blankness is quite cold to those who have felt it, a near total void, yet they know something is there. They don't seem to be positive or negative, just emotionless. So again, another blank. Not something to fear because it doesn't really want to hurt you, but it also doesn't seem to want to do anything joyous. And a lot of people interpret that as almost like a residual type haunting because it's not going to interact with you, but it actually will interact with you and can interact with you. It's just that it's not sending off these kinds of feelings, I guess you could say. And even though I've been mentioning spirits being bound to a certain location, generally speaking, a faceless ghost is not bound to a certain location. They can come and go, wander freely, because again, they can't remember anything, so they don't know that they're supposed to stay somewhere possibly. The most famous faceless ghost out there is a Japanese legendary creature known as the Noppera-Bo. They appear to be ordinary humans, but they're actually shapeshifters, and they're often called mujina. They usually appear to people as someone they know before erasing their facial features to scare that person, and they blend in perfectly with human society. But when you meet this Noppera-Bo face to face, you can see there's no face at all. It's a head that's basically a blank orb, no eyes, nose, mouth, or any other features. And that's how you know this no face or faceless ghost is not a real human being. They are known to be mischievous rather than malevolent. So even though earlier I was saying that a lot of faceless ghosts don't really have a specific way of interacting with malevolent intentions, good or bad, the Japanese seem to think of them more as mischievous. And as I said earlier, anything that's kind of paranormal or spiritual they call yokai. So this is a mysterious yokai, and it's usually encountered on quiet, empty roads late at night when nobody else is around. And its main purpose seems to be to scare people. They usually appear in the guise of a man or a woman with his or her back turned towards the observer, so they think that this is a real human being. And then when this yokai, faceless ghost, turns around and reveals its terrifying true form, the victim is completely scared because there looks like there's a face for just a moment, and then the face seems to just wipe off, and there's nothing left there. Noppera-Bo often work together in groups to scare people, and they love to tag team on just one person. So here's what usually will happen. This victim will come upon a Noppera-Bo. They don't know that that's what it is. They think it's another human being. Maybe they start to have a conversation, and then all of a sudden those facial features go away. Or this thing turns around and they see that it has no face. So they take off running. They find another person along the road, and they say, "Oh man, you won't believe what I just saw back there. This thing, it had no face. It's like it had a face and then it wiped its face away, or it turned around and it had no face." And then this person that they're talking to will say, "Oh, you mean like this?" and then wipes their face away. So you have two Noppera-Bos who've just really frightened this person, tag teaming them going, ah, ha, ha, you mean no face like this? You can only imagine. That'd actually be something I think I'd like to do. They're even known to impersonate close relatives of this victim. Sometimes a poor man will run all the way home, having run into multiple faceless ghosts along the way, tell his wife what he saw, and have her reply, oh, you mean like this? And then do the no face thing again. There's a well-known Japanese story about this called the Noppera-Bo and the Koi Pond. And it recounts a lazy fisherman who decided to fish in the imperial koi ponds near the Heian-kyo Palace. Despite being warned by his wife about the pond being sacred and near a graveyard, the fisherman went anyway. On his way to the pond, he is warned by another fisherman not to go there, but he again ignores the warning. Once at the spot, he is met by a beautiful young woman who pleads with him not to fish in the pond. He ignores her, and to his horror, she wipes her face off. Rushing home to hide, he is confronted by what seems to be his wife, who chastises him for his wickedness before wiping off her facial features as well. And probably the most famous story that is told in Japan is the Mujina of the Akasaka Road. On the Akasaka Road in Tokyo, there is a slope called Ki no Kunisaka, which means the slope of the province of Ki. I do not know why it is called the slope of the province of Ki. On one side of the slope, you see an ancient moat, deep and very wide, with high green banks rising up to some places of the gardens, and on the other side of the road extend the long and lofty walls of an imperial palace. Before the era of street lamps, this neighborhood was very lonesome after dark, and belated pedestrians would go miles out of their way rather than mount the Ki no Kunisaka alone after sunset, all because of a Noppera-Bo that used to walk there. The last man who saw this was an old merchant of the Kyobashi quarter who died about 30 years ago. This is the story as he told it. One night at a late hour, he was hurrying up the Ki no Kunisaka when he perceived a woman crouching by the moat all alone and weeping bitterly. Fearing that she intended to drown herself, he stopped to offer her any assistance or consolation in his power. She appeared to be a slight, graceful person, handsomely dressed, and her hair was arranged like that of a young girl of good family. "Oh, Jochu," he exclaimed, approaching her. "Oh, Jochu, do not cry like that. Tell me what the trouble is, and if there be any way to help you, I shall be glad to help you." He really meant what he said, for he was a very kind man. But she continued to weep, hiding her face from him with one of her long sleeves. "Oh, Jochu," he said again, as gently as he could, please listen to me. This is no place for a young lady at night. Do not cry. I implore you. Only tell me how I may be of some help to you." Slowly she rose up, but turned her back to him, and continued to moan and sob behind her sleeve. He laid his hand lightly upon her shoulder and pleaded, "Oh, Jochu, oh, Jochu, oh, Jochu, listen to me, just for one little moment. Oh, Jochu, oh, Jochu." Then that oh, Jochu turned round and dropped her sleeve and stroked her face with her hand, and the man saw that she had no eyes or nose or mouth, and he screamed and ran away. Up Ki no Kunisaka he ran, and all was black and empty. On and on he ran, never daring to look back, and at last he saw a lantern, and it looked like the gleam of a firefly, and he made for it. It was only the lantern of an itinerant soba seller who had set down his stand by the roadside. But any light and any human companionship was good after that experience, and he flung himself down at the feet of the old soba seller and cried out, "I, I, I." "Kori, Kori," roughly exclaimed the soba man. "Here, what is the matter with you? Anybody hurt you?" Nobody hurt me," panted the other. "Only I." "Only scared you?" queried the peddler, unsympathetically. "Was it a robber?" "Not robbers," gasped the terrified man. "I saw a woman by the moat, and she showed me, I cannot tell you what she showed me." "Hey, was it anything like this that she showed you?" cried the soba seller, stroking his own face, which therewith became like unto an egg, and simultaneously the light went out. And now a little break for a word about one of our sponsors. Now, although the Noppera-Bo is considered a yokai due to its long history in Japanese culture, there are modern reports of sightings, including in Hawaii, which has cultural links to Japan, of course. The Faceless Woman made her first appearance in Hawaii on May 19, 1959, when Bob Krause reported in the Honolulu Advertiser that she had allowedly visited the ladies' restroom at the Waialae Drive-In Theater in Kahala. In one version of the story, a girl left her car and went into the restroom around midnight to put on fresh lipstick. In the mirror, she saw a figure behind her with long hair and no face. She saw that the figure had no legs, only half a body. When the girl turned around, there was nobody behind her. The door slammed shut and locked as the poor girl screamed and fainted. In another version reported by Krause, the woman went to the restroom. As she entered, she noticed the place was occupied by another woman who was standing in front of the mirror, combing her long, beautiful hair. The first woman came closer and spoke. The second woman turned slightly. She had no face. The first woman was so frightened she ended up in the hospital with a breakdown. The suggested cause for the haunting of the faceless woman was the fact that the YLI Drive-In Theater was located next to a cemetery. Although manager Albert Silva strongly denied in 1959 the stories that the restrooms of his drive-in theater were haunted, he did note that the stories helped business. Every night a couple dozen people ask me if I've ever seen the ghost, he said. I haven't, but I've sure heard enough about it. Business has been booming since Thursday. When I first discovered the faceless woman in the newspaper archives, I was curious whether anyone had ever actually been an eyewitness to the unusual entity. The story by Bob Krause indicated that the sightings were rumors, no single first-hand account given of the woman's appearance. This was a perfect example of what John von Brunvand called urban legend stories from the friend of a friend who had heard the tale from his cousin. During the course of a radio interview in 1981 concerning Hawaii's ghosts, an anonymous caller asked if I had heard of the faceless woman in the Waialae Drive-In. I assured her that the ghost was famous in 1959 and that I had indeed read about this urban legend. The caller then proceeded to share with us her personal first-hand account of seeing this faceless creature. The spirit had red hair, the caller said, and was combing her hair down in front of her face in the mirror. When she looked in the mirror, the red-haired woman combed her hair back, revealing that she had no eyes, no nose, and no mouth, only a blank, featureless face. All these incidents were included in the first ghost story, which I submitted in 1983 to the Hawaii Herald, a newspaper for the island's Japanese-American community, an essay which was reprinted in 1994 in Obake, Ghost Stories in Hawaii. In that essay, I suggested there were strong ties between the faceless woman of the drive-in and a similar spirit called Mujina, which had been described by Lafcadio Hearn in Kwandan, his wonderful collection of Obake stories. Further research revealed that this faceless ghost is also seen in contemporary Japan, often inside female bathrooms. Since the publication of the first essay on Mujina in Hawaii, the faceless woman has evidently expanded her appearances to other venues throughout the islands. For example, rumors now circulate that she has been seen in 2 different restaurants in Hilo, and that several shopping malls on the island of Oahu have been visited by the faceless phantom. Specifically reporting where these sightings have taken place would be inappropriate, but needless to say, the fascination with the faceless woman continues. I found some other stories on the internet. I saw a faceless ghost. She was in my home for quite a while. My husband even saw her. She would pass by going up our stairs. My husband thought it was me several times. One morning, I awoke to her on my side of the bed, standing very close to me. I could see her white gown and her long hair, but no face. But I could still tell she was looking at me. I will never forget her. I can still picture her. And another. Since I was little, I've seen these faceless ghosts. They match the descriptions other people have, only this one had a top hat of sorts and what looked like a trench coat. I still see it to this day. I call it the faceless man. This one says, I lived in a house for 8 years, and I remember one certain night I was going to go brush my teeth, but I had to do something, so I left the stairs. But when I came back, I saw this 7-foot-tall, faceless white man that wore a bright white suit. It seemed like he was glowing to me, so I didn't feel scared. When I saw him, I just felt calm and surprised, so I casually left to go get my parents. Casually left to go get your parents, really? But by the time I came back to show him to my parents, he was gone. Since then, I haven't seen him again, but I do hear calm voices and noises, but they don't alarm me. I'm living in a new house, and I still see the strange man in my dreams sometimes. Okay, so my friend Sydney walked into the bathroom at Harkey Park, and the lights went off. And when they did, she saw a 7-foot-tall woman wearing a long white dress with no face. She left and sent my other friend in there, and he saw it, and so did I. When my other friend Chris went in there, things moved. Then I went to tell someone not to go in there, and she stopped me before I could say anything and said her and her sister saw it last year. She just stands in the corner. Does anyone know who or what this is? This woman writes, my husband has seen faceless ghosts twice, but he cannot see through them, and they have color, like hair and clothing. The first he saw was a young lady in the middle of the night in the hall outside our bedroom doorway. He was groggy at first and was certain it was our oldest daughter, who was 18 at the time, until he realized she had no face, no feet, and was floating about 5 inches off the floor. We were both in an abnormally deep sleep, and her presence woke him, but not me. He says she floated in place for approximately 5 minutes, then floated backwards, slowly disappearing up in the air. He was not afraid. He's from a small village in Holland and 52 years old. I guess that means that he would be afraid. I don't think that makes any difference. Then in less than 48 hours, I had a very shocking second-term miscarriage at home. She has this in parentheses, which is horrible. The hospital didn't believe me at age 49 and sent me home. Wow, that's great. My husband had to help me through it and remains convinced that that was her saying goodbye. I don't know. The second time that he saw a faceless ghost was a short time ago when he became very sick for the second time with acute urinary retention caused by a hereditary condition. I could not get him to go to the ER, and he said he already had his Euro appointment the next morning and he could wait. So he was sick, but in no way ever hallucinated or was incoherent. Again, in the middle of the night, last week, he woke to another faceless, footless, elderly female ghost hovering near his side of the bed in a black Victorian dress with white stripes on her sleeves, shoulders, and bodice. He sat up and told her, "I'm not ready, please go," very kindly, and she did. He has seen ghosts his whole life, and I've always had dream visitations from some loved ones, not all but some, so we're both pretty open-minded. And this final story, when I was about 7, I moved into a new house and I distinctly remember waking up one night to find a spare mattress on my floor by my bed, and a young woman with long ginger hair and a full coverage, white Victorian-style nightgown on. She had no face, but I could feel her staring right through me. I remember I wasn't particularly scared of her, just alarmed because I wasn't expecting it. I've lived here about 10 years now and have encountered similar faceless people 3 more times, but never the same. Isn't that weird? Although none have ever had any resemblance to myself or anyone I know, they're just there. I'd love to know if any of you guys seen a faceless ghost. They seem pretty unique, but then you've got some of these people who've seen multiple ones, and especially this last one. Sounds like she's seen 4 different ones, all with different features, at least hair, I guess, wise, and what they're wearing and such. Are faceless ghosts really a thing? That is for you to decide. I want to thank you guys for joining me for this bonus cast. I've been your host, Diane. You take care now. Bye-bye.